Hello everyone, my name is Maddie and I've never owned an electric vehicle. It's tough to say I'm fully charged. It's finally time to get rid of what we call the gas guzzler. But that was the past, this is the future, and I am going electric.
Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Maddie Goes Electric. This video is very much about going through the process of choosing an electric vehicle, finding out what's right for me, but also aiming to settle some of those apprehensions you might have if, like me, you're at the start of your journey into getting an EV. And today I've come to the Electric Vehicle Experience Centre in Milton Keynes, where a whole host of experts have kindly agreed to help answer some of my initial questions. But I have been doing some of my own research at home, and this is how that went.
We're starting here, and Robert suggested going to the Green Car Guide, so that's where I am now. And straight up, it's giving me a buyer's guide, a green car buyer's guide, so that seems pretty spot on. So I'm going to open that up. This is really useful actually because it's narrowing down my search instantly. I can pretty much say I'm only going to be looking at city cars, super minis and small family cars. Anything else is probably going to just be unnecessarily big and a little bit too expensive.
So I guess one of the things I've been worrying about or noticing is that when I'm looking at the cost of EVs, they're really expensive. Even what I would consider to be entry-level cars are really pricey, and I can totally understand why that would put people off.
Yeah, of course.
But the reality is that most people in the UK don't actually buy a car outright. That isn't what people do these days.
No, a lot of people are coming to us and looking at leasing option.
Right.
The sort of main benefits of that are that you're not tied into owning that car. Technology is advancing continuously, so you're going to want to maybe get something with a bit better range in a couple of years' time. So it gives you that flexibility to make it affordable, but also be able to sort of upgrade your vehicle at the end of your contract and keep moving as the market moves forward.
So when you're looking at leasing a car, we're now talking about a monthly cost.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to cost, what are people asking you?
People are asking normally what the retail price is and how does that compare to the petrol equivalent car.
And what do you tell them?
I normally say it's slightly more expensive, but it's because you're kind of paying for your running costs up front in a way. Because the maintenance costs are a lot cheaper, running costs are cheaper. Okay. So essentially or you can look at finance or monthly deals, which makes it a bit easier.
Yeah. So if I was to take the monthly cost of, let's say, this car here, a Renault Zoe, and compare it to a Clio, a Renault Clio, is this still going to be more expensive?
So looking at the lease cost, the Zoe is likely to cost you more on a lease agreement.
Okay.
But that's for the lease cost. You then need to look at the fuel cost. So electric is far cheaper than petrols and diesel fuel. Okay. So when you then take that off, that lease cost of the Zoe, then you've got to look at things like tax. The tax is less, and with a lease agreement, tax is included. So again, it drops it down. Yeah. And before you sort of, you can keep going, you can look at congestion zone and things like that. Before you know it, the Zoe is going to be cheaper.
That's really interesting.
And then service and maintenance as well. Electric vehicles, it's a bit of a running joke in the sort of EV world. Most people say a service is just to top up the washer fluid. They don't require a lot of service and maintenance compared to the typical ICE vehicles.
So I guess the first step to getting an electric car is finding out what's there on the market and working out what it is that I actually need from a car. So I should say that I'm not the only one who's going to be driving it. My partner in crime, Greg, will also be driving this car. Most of the time we use the car for quick runarounds, like pickups from the local station. On the odd occasion, we might drive about an hour to go and see friends and family, so I'm pretty sure we'll be covered by every electric car out there. But then there are times where we need to do a really big drive and carry a whole bunch of props and stuff with us if we're doing science shows, things like that. We're both science presenters, by the way. So range is a weird one. I think mostly I need about this much, occasionally need this much. Need to work on that flexibility.
And what about range? What are people asking you there?
Range, so when it comes to range, I normally ask what they're doing first, rather than saying, this will do 200 miles, and they say, well, I need 300 to get to Scotland, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I normally ask them, you need to sort of specify it down to what they're doing day to day, really.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about this is you can leave with 100%. You don't have to go out of your way to get 100%, if that makes sense.
And how do you go about that?
So you can get a home charger. So sometimes they're free, depending on which manufacturer you go with. Other times they do cost a little bit, but it's safer, easier, and slightly faster than plugging into a 3-pin plug socket.
Let's kick things off with city cars and see what this website think is the best. So, the smart cars, a bit small. The Renault Twizy is practically made for a child. Not to say I wouldn't have fun driving one, but do I want that to be my permanent car of choice? Absolutely not. So let's look at the Volkswagen Yup and see what it has to say about it. From what I understand, you can't just drive up to any charge point and charge the car you own. Sometimes it's a little bit more specific. So whatever car I end up getting, I want charging to be as accessible as possible. So really, I want charging to be like off the charts over here, but that's something I don't really understand yet. Moving on then to super minis. These cars are apparently a bit bigger than your classic mini, but not quite a small family car, so they're sort of like hatchbacks basically. Hey, the Renault Zoe, that is definitely a name I recognise. Can I charge you anywhere? Let's have a look. Renault uses a different charging system to most, utilising AC charging for rapid as well as fast. That means it's limited to 43 kilowatts from rapid chargers. We need to find out what the different chargers are and what these kilowatts mean.
So if I am charging at home, do I need to have an electric vehicle charging point at home?
You don't need to, but we do recommend it.
Okay, so if I don't, let's say I don't have space for one, could I just charge it off the same plug that I plug my kettle into?
You could do, if you needed to, yes.
But would that be slower?
It would be, yeah.
So that's your 3-pin plug. Should we just call that slow charging?
Correct, yeah.
Not ideal slow charging,
Yeah.
but you can do it.
Yeah.
What's the next level up?
The next level is 7 kilowatts, which we call fast charging.
Fast charging?
Yeah.
And that's if you were to get a charge point installed at home?
Yeah.
And is that also something you would come across if you were out and about at a supermarket?
Correct, yeah. Supermarket, shopping mall, yeah, literally anywhere where you're going to spend a few hours.
Yeah.
There will often be a fast charger there.
Okay.
So home or sort of just general destinations, shopping malls, etc.
Destination charger.
Yeah.
And then what's the top dog?
Right now it's 50 kilowatts. We call that rapid charging.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's super quick.
So that, yeah, that's pretty quick. You're talking 40 minutes for 10 to 80% roughly, depending on the vehicle. Yeah.
40 minutes?
Yeah.
And now we're going to look at small family cars. Okay, much bigger choice here. Looks like electric cars are doing very well in the small family car category. The Volkswagen e-Golf, we've got the Nissan Leaf. What else? The Hyundai Ioniq? I don't know. The Bmw i3 and the Hyundai Kona. Okay, Hyundai Kona is coming out first, but why? I don't know. Let's take a look at the range on the Kona. Ooh, a game changer. It's coming up first. What? 279 miles. That is way higher. Okay, it's a little bit more expensive, £38,000, but that's like, that is a massive range. Real world estimate, the estimated real world range, because come on, let's be real, 250 to 279 miles. Why? Wow, what's happened? What have you done? With something like that, we would absolutely be able to do the longest journeys that are typical in our lives anyway. Well, it looks good, it's practical, clever tech. Does it have a big boot? Looks like it does. Has 4 to 5 doors. Ooh, Kona is looking good, but is expensive.
What if I'm renting and I can't get a home charger installed?
So we then look at things like workplace charging. So if, for example, your company offered workplace charging, that's an option. The vehicles now are getting better from a range perspective. So most people do a 25-mile commute, 100 miles maybe a week, the average sort of person that we speak to.
Yeah.
So having a range capability of 200 miles, public network is becoming more reliable. But again, we'd have to run that through with you in detail and check.
With getting a home charger or a charger installed at workplace, something like that, is that something you have to pay for separately if you're leasing?
It is separate. So some lease agreements, some special offers and things like that may include it.
Really?
Yeah.
With the installation?
It may do, depending on the offer and things at the time.
Right.
But it's always best to have that conversation. So we'll say to them, you know, this is the cost of lease. If you want to add service and maintenance, it's going to be this. And just bear in mind that there's going to be, depending on the charging point you want to go for, you just need to set aside this amount, depending, to get the installation done as well.
And I know we're talking about leasing right now, but if we sort of look at, if I was to be purchasing a car outright, is it the same thing? You might get a home charger included, you might
depends.
not.
Yeah, dealer offers, that kind of thing. It just depends what's on offer at the time.
But still, that's really good to know, because genuinely I thought that was going to be a massive extra cost on top of the convenience of home charging. So the fact that there even are deals that are you can discuss is really useful.
Exactly. And there's also the government grant. The government give you a £500 contribution to a smart charger at present. So again, there's support. The government want more and more people to go electric, so they are supporting it and incentivising it. And on that note, if you are moving, you can have your charging point installed at any time after you get the electric car. So it's not like you have to get it done when you get the car. So if public network works, you can wait until you move into your new property and then get your charger at a later date.
This is good. This is all much more flexible than I thought it could be. This is great. Also, this is looking much more achievable because I don't suddenly need to have £25,000 lying around to be able to get a car in the first place.
Exactly.
So there are lease options. This is great.
For a laugh, what's the Tesla? Okay, so bigger family cars, we do have in first place the Tesla Model 3. Let's look at the range in comparison to the Kona. 254, which makes the Kona better than the Tesla in terms of range. And how expensive is the Tesla? £42,000. Which is nowhere near as expensive as I thought it was going to be. 42,000? Huh. Obviously, okay, let's be real. £42,000 is extremely expensive. However, I thought it was going to be like 80 plus. So maybe the Tesla 3 isn't as unachievable as I thought it might be. But that being said, the Kona has a bigger range. There's only one more I want to check out because I feel like I kind of skipped past it a little bit, and that was the Nissan Leaf. My cousin has one of these, she absolutely loves it. But that one is definitely more affordable, it's under £30,000. Let's go back towards all of them because I can barely remember them. Crikey, if anyone tells you there's not much choice, they're lying, because there's loads.
This is Jo from EVZ. Now, Jo, I'm looking into various options at the moment. I'm looking to get an electric vehicle, but EVZ, you have a slightly different approach, something that's actually quite disruptive. Do you want to tell me about what EVZ do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, but we call it an electric vehicle subscription service. So what that means for our customers in effect is that they pay a single monthly fee.
Right.
And with that, they get their choice of electric car and everything else included. So when I say everything else, I mean their insurance is in there, their breakdown cover, wear and tear, etc., etc. And we actually give our customers access to the ChargeMaster Polar Plus network. So that's
included?
Yeah, included in the price, the monthly price, yeah, exactly.
But unlike a phone contract where you're tied in for, I know, up to 24 months, that's not the case here.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, we get that people are apprehensive sometimes about getting into electric vehicles. So I guess a big part of our offering is that we understand that, and we want to offer kind of the flexibility to allow people to get in without that long-term commitment when they're unsure about driving an EV in the first place. And to be honest, what we find with our customers is they come because they like that flexibility, but they stay because they love the electric car.
So this would allow me to try different options.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then settle on something that feels comfortable.
Yeah, completely. So like I say, we tried to cover the entire range. So that goes, I guess, our base price point comes with the Renault Zoe, for example. Still a car with 150 miles real world range on it. And we go all the way up to the kind of Teslas at the top end. So yeah, there's something in there for everyone.
I was just about to start cooking dinner and I was thinking it would be really useful if I could look at the cars that I've seen and like the look of and somehow try to, you know, weigh them up against each other, maybe categorise them a little bit. And I was going to write it down and I thought there's got to be a website that will do this for me. And turns out there is. It's called ev-database.uk. And it allows you to select the makes of car that you're interested in, and then you can opt for electric, fully electric or hybrid. You can pick a price point and then you can find out whether they're actually available or not. And then they just all come up in a handy list with kind of like the top trumps, their top facts of the cars. So it just means that I can really quickly see all of them in front of me and compare them against each other. And then you can list them slightly differently. So you can list them by cost of lease, by their electric range, total range, efficiency, acceleration, or juice. And I just wanted to share it with you because it's really useful. In summary, here's what I'm thinking. Really like the BMW i3. It is nifty. I've driven it before. I like it, but it is on the more expensive, like it's quite expensive for the range. The Nissan Leaf, again, is much cheaper. The range isn't as good, but it looks like a good all-rounder. The Kona is madness, like off the scale when it comes to its range, so that's great. I'd quite like to test drive a Tesla because why on earth wouldn't you? And then the Zoe. The Zoe feels like that would be entry level for me in terms of what I'm looking for, but I'm slightly wary of the charging limitations. All this has told me though is that it's really difficult to know what you want just by looking at it online. So we're going to go and test drive some.
You also mentioned that you can actually take cars away, you can drive them here and even try them for a few days.
Yeah, so you can try them for 20 minutes or you can try them for up to 7 days. And that's really to get for the customer to really experience electric.
Just outside the Experience Centre, there is a lineup of electric vehicles that you can try. This here is the BMW i3. I've actually already driven it before. I really like it. I like how it looks. It looks like an electric vehicle, but it isn't too out there. It's not too space age, but also it's nippy and really fun. But these are the two that I'm interested in trying today, the Kia Enero and the Hyundai Kona. Now, both of these have a massive range, and that's really appealing because occasionally I do have to go long distances. So I'm gonna hop in, press some buttons and see how I get on. So, I'm in the Kona. This is one of the options with a massive range, so that's why we want to try it. But I'm sat in it and I'm going to be honest, I don't quite know how to turn the thing on. Power, that's a good start. Oh, whoa! All right then, here we go. Whoa! I will say, this is remarkably easy to drive. First of all, obviously, something's beeping at me. Am I good? I'm good. I'm gonna brake. I didn't need to brake. Why didn't I need to brake? Wow! That is so clever. That's strange. It's like the car is reading your mind. But I took my foot off the accelerator and automatically the car started to slow itself down. And that is something called regenerative braking, or regen, but more about that in the next episode. One thing that's a real positive about this is that despite obviously I've got to start everything with buttons, the rest of the car very much just feels like a car. There isn't anything like too scary about this, and I've been in it for what, like half a minute, and I already feel like quite comfortable with driving the thing. I'm just looking down at the smorgasbord of buttons that are down here to my left, and I've got both heated seats and what looks like cool air that might come through a seat, which could be quite refreshing in the summer. But I am going to put the heated seats on right now. And I've been told that actually that's a good way to keep yourself toasty and warm inside the electric car, or especially this one, the Kona, because that isn't drawing electricity from your main battery. So that's going to be more efficient than if I was to use the blowers at the front. So nice little tip there, good to know. Whoa. I think there might be an assumption that if you have an electric car, it's not going to have much juice, it's not going to be very powerful, but that absolutely is not the case. Like, this is really fun. Like, it's got quite a bit of, like, you know, get up and go about it, so that's fun. Like, this is genuinely getting me excited about, you know, having a car like this, so that is great. Because I'm not used to the regen, I'm not used to this type of braking. I am finding at the moment I'm driving sort of like everything's quite jolty. There is an option to be able to alter the regen slightly, but I guess I'll get into that. That's just something you get to know, sort of like, you know, if once you've picked the car. Ooh, definitely got a warm, cozy bottom. Okay, I reckon if we head back to the start and I can jump in another car and see how it compares. Love it. This is great.
So if I look at it in terms of leasing, the Renault Zoe that's been coming up is by far coming out on top, and that's because it's the slightly cheaper car, but it does have a smaller range. However, if I, let's say, organise things by acceleration, no surprise that the Tesla is coming out on top, followed quickly by the BMW i3. I'm not surprised. I think I said I've driven it already and it's really nippy, it's nifty, and I do like it. But the juiciest cars do happen to be some of the most expensive. And then if I arrange things by total range, guess who comes up top trumps? The Hyundai Kona, who is up there with, this website is saying, a range of 245 miles. So, and actually, it's still pretty juicy. You're still getting 0 to 60-ish in 7-ish seconds. So I just wanted to tell you about this website because I think it's really useful if you need to narrow down your car search to something much finer.
We are now inside the Kia Enero. Let's go for a little spin. I don't have buttons. I have a twisty dial. Okay. Gosh. What strikes me this time is how quiet it just was when we were parked. Like, I didn't exactly know if the car was even turned on. I guess it was just the lights that were giving me that sort of like indication. But we're going to go on a similar little route. I'm just going to do one little Milton Keynes rectangle and see how it is. Honestly, it feels fairly similar. Like, it's really, really similar to drive. Let me just see what the pickup is. Fun. The regen on this doesn't feel quite as abrupt, but I think that's just, it's a setting situation. I think in the other car, in the Kona, when I tried it, I had it on like quite a strong setting. Again, this is stuff that I'll definitely go into when I've actually learned how to drive the car properly. But this feels smoother, which is nice. So perhaps that's a regen setting thing, or perhaps it is just a smoother car to drive. Something that's true of the Robert, the Enero and the Kona is that they do have a whacking great big range, which for someone who is new to electric vehicles, to EVs, that is extremely comforting. And when I combine that with the fact that I know that in the future I will be able to get a home charger, it's like, I am sorted. I am like, you know, this is why wouldn't I go for this? If you drive an EV, this might make sense, but I do mean it when I say it feels more like a partnership, and it feels like the car is helping me out. It wants me to drive it well, and it wants me to drive it efficiently and safely, and it's doing its best to help me do that. So on my heads-up display, there is a little dial that is basically telling me how much power we're using and it tells me when I'm essentially charging the battery, when I'm putting energy back into the battery and when I'm using it. And I don't want to get distracted by it now because this is all very new to me, but it's kind of like the car has gamified driving slightly. And it's almost like a game as to how eco can I possibly drive. So that's something that I'm actually looking forward to getting to know, and I'm looking forward to getting better at as well. On my display just here to my left, what do I call that? The dash display? I guess that's what that's called. There's a little blue circle around the GPS dot where I am, and it's telling me just how far I could go with my current range, which is now at 289 miles. And hilariously, I could get to beyond Paris if I wanted to. So if anyone tells you you can't get very far in an electric car, that is nonsense, because I could drive to France. Alrighty, so there you go. That was my experience driving the Kia Enero. Not that dissimilar, if I'm being honest, but just like the Kona, I think what is really comforting is that actually it's a simple drive. For this series, what can my generic term for diesel petrol cars be? Most people call it an ICE, so internal combustion engine. So it's referred to as an ICE. An ICE, like an ICE car? Yeah. That sounds too exciting though. I don't want to, that's not the idea of this. But let's just say, okay, so
I think if it's
whatever,
cold, it's not warming.
An ICE car. Okay, yeah. That's a thing now.
So we do recommend, go to try the cars. You know, sit in it, drive it, experience the vehicle.
As you would do any ICE car.
As you would, exactly. It's no different.
This conversation is actually just reminding me that if you are like me on the journey to becoming an EV driver, that you don't have to handle this alone.
No, not at all.
And I think all the information can seem really daunting, but actually there are so many people and services like yourselves and like the place we are now who really want you to have a positive experience with this and will make your life easy but also super personal. And actually this doesn't have to be a scary thing at all.
You're definitely not on your own.
So there you go, I have done my research, I've chatted with some experts, I've even driven a few cars, and things are falling into place. I'll say that at the beginning of this journey, I knew that I wanted to be part of the EV club, but I had some apprehensions and those are slowly dissolving, so I'm in a really good place. And I've even got an idea about the car I'm going to pick, but to find out which one that is, you're going to have to wait until the next episode. So, if you have been, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Welcome to my home.
Greg, do you want to come and see the car?
Wow, I would not have thought that at all, actually.
Firstly, no one's about.
It's just a case of going up to it and then plugging in and charging it.
It's going green. This was so easy!
Oh my gosh, this actually works so well. What? Wow. I've never used like the camera with reverse parking. That just made life so easy. Oh my gosh, that was exciting.